Looks like Sony's going ahead with a new Tarzan movie, and honestly, it kinda makes sense. You know why? Well, after two major box office flops, Sony just pulled an untitled Marvel movie from their 2025 lineup. So they're probably trying to bounce back with something big. What better way than by bringing back one of their classic IPs like Tarzan? And get this, rumor has it, this time they're going all out with a star-studded cast instead of going with lesser-known actors. So let's break down everything we know so far about this new Tarzan project. According to reports, Sony's picking up the screen rights to Tarzan from the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate, aka the people who have been keeping the legend of the Jungle King alive all these years. And from the sound of things, they're not just planning a reboot, they're going for a total reinvention. Now, let's be real, this move actually makes a lot of sense. Sony hasn't had the smoothest ride lately. After two major box office flops, they even pulled an untitled Marvel movie from their 2025 slate. That's a pretty big deal, and it hints that the studio's looking to pivot hard, probably to something more reliable, something that already has some name recognition. And what better way to bounce back than by betting on a legacy character like Tarzan? But this isn't going to be your grandpa's Tarzan. Sony apparently wants to bring the character into the 21st century in a way that speaks to today's audience. So, think less loincloth and jungle yells and more depth, nuance, and modern storytelling. There's no director or writer confirmed yet, and they haven't announced any cast members either, but that just opens the door for all sorts of exciting possibilities. And speaking of possibilities, let's talk about casting. Because if Sony's smart, and we hope they are, they'll aim for a big-name cast to really turn heads. After all, one of the reasons the 2016 Legend of Tarzan didn't totally land was that even with a solid cast, it didn't bring a new angle. Alexander Skarsgård did a good job in the lead, and Margot Robbie as Jane? Great pick. But the movie leaned a bit too hard into outdated tropes, especially that whole white savior narrative that just doesn't sit well anymore. That's definitely something Sony will want to avoid in this reinvention. So who should they cast this time around? Well, if you ask me, I think for the role of Tarzan, we need someone who can pull off that whole rugged, wild man raised by apes vibe, but also bring real emotional depth. Someone who can show the duality of being both primal and human. A name that has been rumored around is Henry Cavill, aka Superman, The Witcher, action hero extraordinaire. But think about it. He's got the physical presence, the charisma, and he can totally sell that internal struggle between beast and man. Plus, audiences already love him, and a role like Tarzan could give him something fresh and challenging. But if Sony wants to go in a younger direction, someone like Jacob Elordi could also be a strong contender. He's tall, athletic, and has that mysterious brooding vibe that could work really well for a Tarzan who's figuring out where he belongs, in the jungle or the world of men. He's already proven he can carry dramatic roles, and adding some action to the mix could really round out his resume. As for Jane Porter, let's be real, she can't just be the damsel in distress anymore. We need a version of Jane who's smart, capable, and just as essential to the story as Tarzan himself. Someone like Florence Pugh would be an absolute dream in the role. She brings strength and wit to every performance, and she could totally flip the classic Jane trope on its head. Or maybe Zendaya, who would bring a fresh, modern energy to the character. She's proven time and time again that she can lead a movie and bring emotional gravitas to any role she touches. And hey, why stop there? If the movie wants to go deeper with the apes as characters, and not just background animals, then the casting should reflect that too. Imagine Andy Serkis, a legend in motion capture roles, playing Kerchak, the tough but conflicted ape leader who kills Tarzan's father and eventually becomes a sort of adoptive figure. Serkis already brought life to Caesar in Planet of the Apes, so he'd be perfect for a more nuanced, CGI-heavy role. For Kala, the gentle ape who raises Tarzan as her own, someone like Viola Davis could bring incredible emotion and heart. Even in a voice or motion capture performance, she could give the character real depth and maternal warmth. It would elevate the relationship between Tarzan and his adoptive mother to something truly moving. And if they're going to reintroduce a villain, it should probably be someone fresh. The 2016 movie had Christoph Waltz, who's always great, but the whole colonial villain angle is a little tired. Maybe this time around, the antagonist is a powerful CEO or tech mogul exploiting the jungle for profit. Think Cillian Murphy or Giancarlo Esposito, actors who can be terrifying without needing to shout every line. They'd be perfect for a modern, more realistic antagonist who represents humanity's worst impulses. But let's circle back to why this project even matters right now. The truth is, Tarzan as a story has been around for over 100 years. First published in 1912, Tarzan of the Apes tells the story of a young boy, John Clayton actually, born to British aristocrats, marooned in the jungle, and then raised by apes after his parents die. He learns to survive like them, climbing, hunting, swinging from vines, and living completely in sync with nature. Eventually, he meets Jane, learns he's human, and starts wrestling with his identity. That classic tale has been retold a lot, from early black and white films to Disney's animated 1999 version to video games, comics, and stage shows. And that's part of the challenge Sony's facing. How do you take a story that's already been done so many times and make it feel fresh again? Well, for starters, they can embrace diversity, not just in casting, but in storytelling. Move away from the colonialist lens that older versions leaned into, and instead focus on the clash between nature and industrialization or the human impact on the environment. They can also give more agency to Jane, and maybe even introduce new characters who better reflect the cultures of the regions the story's set in. And let's not forget that Tarzan exists in a kind of a weird legal limbo. Some of the original stories are in the public domain, which means other studios could technically make their own Tarzan stories too. In the end, we don't know exactly what direction Sony's going to take with this reboot, but based on what we've seen and heard, the goal is clear. They want to bring Tarzan into the now while still keeping what makes him iconic. And with the right team behind it and the right cast, it could really be something special. And that's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. Drop your ideas for future videos in the comments. We're always down to hear what you want to see next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because we've got some fire updates coming soon.